I'd like to start with the story of Sophia, who was that robot who was given Saudi citizenship. It was obviously criticized because at the time, and obviously even now, Saudi women enjoy far less rights than men. And it was very interesting that this woman, this robot woman, was given citizenship when Saudi women at the time couldn't even drive a car. The reason I use that example is because it's a good metaphor for how I think some authoritarian countries in the region view civil society, right? They allow the internet in, and this is good because it's good optics. It allows them to say to the rest of the world when they're trying to attract foreign investment, look, we allowed Twitter, we allowed Facebook, we allow this freedom of the press. But of course, you're not going to allow in these systems if they threaten your position of power. So they're co-opted. And the reason, again, I use Sophie is because if you can use these technologies, how, beyond just censorship, can you create the illusion of a civil society? And so what I think is interesting about bots is that you have thousands, probably millions actually, of fake accounts that look like real people, they interact and they speak certain messages, but they do so in a way that's obviously promoting state propaganda or fake news.
The political sphere is radically shifting because of the fake news armies and the Twitter bots that we see. Now, when I say fake news, I don't mean it the way, President Trump means it, which is almost any story that he disagrees with or anything he doesn't like. But the idea of campaigns of misinformation it's changing a lot, because suddenly there are people who legitimately and quite reasonably can't distinguish between a real news story and a campaign of misinformation. It's challenging for people to have the kind of media literacy to know which is which, not because people aren't smart, but because so much money is invested in creating the memes and the headlines and the websites that look and feel just like the ones that we know and trust. And as a result, it's very easy to advance an agenda or an argument or an idea that is counterfactual.
We are able to communicate with people all over the world at every hour of the day online, and that's a wonderful thing. It does create community and it gives people a way of connecting with each other. The other side of the coin is that people of all different kinds of thoughts and views use the internet to sometimes denigrate or speak hatefully or hurtfully of other people. And so you have all of that going on in the internet, and it has caused a lot of debate.
Because you can create Twitter bots and accounts, you can make it seem like something that is very small. An idea that's supported by 12 people can now look like 12 million people support it because we create the fake accounts. And when people see consensus, they jump on. Or when politicians feel like there's political room, to make an unpopular choice, because now suddenly they have this whole army behind them. The unpopular choice they think is a popular choice now, and they feel emboldened to make a decision. And so when you have the fake bots also advancing the misinformation, you can suddenly have widespread disruption of democratic dialogue, fact-based discussion, and you can have a political tide turn that shouldn't, based on anything that's ethical or moral or even reasonable.
There is a lot of unintended consequences that occur when you're trying to rein in any kind of speech. And what you need to try to guard against is the fact that some voices will get caught up and will get squelched as a result of efforts to try to monitor content.
Propaganda has always existed in the Arab world and the world, but I suppose what's characterized the Arab region is extreme state control over all methods of broadcasting, whether it's satellite television or traditional newspapers. What's happening now is that we're seeing, unsurprisingly, social media technologies such as Twitter, Facebook, even Snapchat and YouTube being instrumentalized as delivery systems for this propaganda. Now that's one thing, but it's not restricted to the state level. The problem with the internet and obviously social media is that it's disparate. So what this means is that any country that has an advantage or a significant amount of power, ownership or investment in any of these technologies can then leverage those platforms to spread propaganda beyond the nation state, just as satellite TV did before. But now I think what's happening is certain countries, particularly like Saudi Arabia, are becoming very adept at adopting these technologies, not just to control their own population, but trying to push their agenda beyond their own borders.